That's right. It's a new beginning for 100 Thieves fans. Summer Split 2020 is upon us, everyone. Welcome back to 100 Talk. After what ended up not being too brief of a break, this was actually kind of a longer break for us. We are finally back to talk to you about our favorite esports team in the world, 100 Thieves, League of Legends. Jordan, how are you doing today, man?
I feel fantastic. This is a complete surprise to me. I am shocked, Cole. I'm not appalled. I am shocked that the summer split is starting in less than 1 week. What happened?
What happened?
How are we here? I am not ready. I'm not ready. I mean, I'm ready. I'm not prepared. This is me doing my best impression of someone who feels like they kept up with the offseason, Cole.
Yeah, we'll see just how accurate we can fake our way through this today. I think like everything that's happened has really just taken me out of esports for a little bit, you know?
Yeah,
but we are still here. We still exist. So do you, and we love you guys. So we're excited.
I'm actually super excited.
Yeah, I am too.
Let's not forget, Cole. Welcome back to 100 Talk. This is a new show for those of you who've been watching us for the last couple months, but it's also the show that we started this whole thing with. So typically, we're going to come at you every week and talk about League of Legends. And we had a lot to talk about. We ended last split with quite a bit of drama. And we're picking right up where we left off. There's some interesting stuff to get into here, Cole.
Yeah, there is. And we will certainly do so. I just want to say really quick before we start that appreciate everybody being here with us tonight. It's my hope that during the split, this split, that we just all have a lot of fun watching the games and we don't dwell too much on the negatives that we may see. And instead we just kind of enjoy it. I think we've taken all this stuff a little for granted. And that the pandemic has kind of underscored that and other world events have kind of underscored that. So let's just do this and have some fun, man. Positive vibes only today.
That's a good idea. And I see Dylan in chat saying, what off season? The LCS has been happening every Thursday. That's a sly nod to Rec League, which is our off season and regular season, all season community games. And you know what I love about Rec League, Cole? Everybody just has a good time.
Yeah.
And is there a reason we shouldn't or won't bring that energy to the LCS? I'm ready to just have some fun, man.
Heck yeah. That's what we're all about.
Good League of Legends.
All right. Well, Bamatide88 is here in chat, so now we can officially begin.
Let's get it going.
Here's what we're going to do. Tonight may be a little bit shorter than a standard 100 Talk episode. We'll see how long we end up going, but I think we'll probably land around 45 minutes. Of course, every time I say that, I end up being a big fat liar. So we will...
The 80-minute pod.
Yeah, we'll see what actually happens. But yeah, we're back to talking, 90 to 95% of what we'll be doing tonight is just strictly League of Legends. So we will we'll hit a few things, starting with the news that came out. I guess, let's see, when was that? I'm losing track of time. It was
years ago.
It was the end of last week, right? That we heard that Poome is being promoted off of 100 Next up to 100T Academy. Mm-hmm. All right. So this is a significant develop. Yeah. Actually, I have it.
Thank you.
There we go. Audio podcast listeners won't get that one, but stream, we love you. So Poome has been promoted, and according to the LCS contract database, he's on contract through the end of 2022. So he's got quite a long contract. We're going to talk more about contracts here in a little bit. But in the tweet that announced this promotion, it said that Academy will actually be operating a 6-man roster for this upcoming split. So we get to see how that is actually going to play out, which might be fairly interesting. Instead of just, focusing our development on one player, which would be Breezy, typically, now we're going to see that time be split between Poome and Breezy. Now, I don't know how much you guys have been following 100 Next. We typically, I've watched a little bit of it. I've watched I don't know, probably 6 or 7 games. And I usually will pop into the stream almost every time I see it, just for a few minutes. If you're not aware of 100 Next was the additional development program that 100 Thieves announced as kind of a funnel into the Academy program. And they have been spending much of their time in the UPL, the Upsurge Premier League, and absolutely destroying everybody, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, and while it was kind of weird, they didn't actually end up winning the Upsurge League for spring. Sort of fluky. I don't think, I could be wrong on this, but they might not have dropped a single regular season series. So they won a lot. All right.
Yeah.
And Poome, definitely one of the highlights from that team. So is Tenacity. Like it's been good to see. Now, him being promoted from the team is actually kind of like an interesting big deal, because this means that 100 Next is actually serving the stated purpose. Now we don't know how Poome is going to do once he gets into Academy, but the fact is somebody from the developmental program has shown enough to be bumped up to the Academy program, which is a big deal.
Cool.
Yeah, Jordan, do you remember all the conversation that went into, like, that was going around in the league scene, especially for NA, right before 100 Next was announced?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got to build NA talent, Cole. We got to get these guys some opportunities. We got to get them on the stage.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but when I heard the announcement of the 100 Next program, I was like, well, we'll see if this actually serves that purpose, or if we just sign some good young people and who knows what happens to them.
Right.
Well, this is pretty quick results. So very interesting. As John Robinson is in chat pointing out, they had an average game time of 60 minutes and 45 seconds. Which is pretty ridiculous. I believe they were forfeiting some people even, which definitely is not something you typically see.
And that's like people who are trying to put a resume together, right? They want to like add to their show reel, and all they have is the FF to show.
Yeah.
For that game.
So it's been interesting. Now, I want to talk about what this means for Stunt, honestly, because look, the signals. Oh, you want to back up first? Go for it.
I just want to make a couple comments on this program. And there are two things as a fan that I want to call attention to. One is the fact that this is compelling viewing, right? As a fan, Cole. So for those who have not watched us, Cole and I, both longtime traditional sports fans. This is a traditional, kind of what I think of as a more traditional sports storyline, right?
Yeah.
It's somebody who starts in like a farm program and is making their way up, right? It's the high school star who's now got a high profile contract on a big collegiate program, right? Not an exact analogy.
Yeah, he's just making an analogy.
But you can see, like, I'm going to be super excited to watch Poome in Academy. And the number of players I'm excited to watch, I'm going to be very honest, in Academy is low. And I think it in part is just because I don't know who the players are. Yeah. I don't know their background. I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know anything about them, typically. And I think one of the only ways that we as fans have had to connect to teams and players is through whatever docuseries we get to watch, right? Mm-hmm. And some teams, I think our team does a fantastic job of that. But that's not broadly true. And like, I'm not going to watch every team's docuseries. I don't have time for that. This is just a very organic storyline that is intriguing to me, right? If this guy shows up in Academy and starts popping off, I'm going to be so hyped. So hyped. So I think it's very cool that this is happening. It's generating interest in me that I did not previously have.
And I think it's symbolically meaningful as well. And that's why there's so much riding on it. Like you said, the story of the climb is something that people can latch on to, but it's also testing the waters to see, cause like when it comes to NA talent pool, we don't know how the levels really stack up against each other. Right. We know in general, LCS is going to be better than Academy, and Academy is going to be better than college, but there are a lot of pseudo leagues out there. There's a lot of amateur stuff. Now with we're starting to see some developmental stuff. We don't know how big the gaps are, how small they are. We don't typically get a chance to see young NA talent very young NA talent come in and start mixing it up. So
Right.
I think this will be very much so a proof of concept for 100 Next. That will be interesting to watch, and we'll just see. Like if he is, competitive with Breezy or better than Breezy, this could have some major ramifications down the line, which is, I think, exciting not just for 100 Thieves fans, but also for NA in general. Like if we do want to truly build an NA talent pipeline, this is at least a step in this direction. It's not going to solve the problem, but
And the other quick point I'll make is more from the org perspective, which is one of the things I think is such a hard balance to strike is finding chances for players that don't carry the innate risk of absolutely exploding their career, right?
Yeah.
If you put an academy player on the LCS stage before they're really ready for that, their LCS career is probably impacted in some way. And with this promotion and kind of the contract signing here, I see it as a way to really start to get that, right? It's like you're taking the steps. Does he play differently compared to from 100 Next to 100 Academy, 100T Academy? And so you can kind of gauge that too, right? With a lot of the players, the first time you're seeing them play competitively, at least in any kind of a meaningful contest, is Academy. So you can measure now from one to the next and start to gauge that and start to correct some of the behavior you're seeing, right? Like, hey man, in Next, you played a lot more aggressively. Don't lose that, right? Like these kinds of things, I think are easier to kind of monitor and coach along the way.
Yeah, and it'll be an interesting demonstration of the development structure within 100 Thieves, because I mean these guys are playing under the direction of Fallen Bandit right now, right? Then they get bumped up to Kelsey's direction, and then if they continue to go up, then they'll be working with Zix and Kai and Jungle Juice and Papa. Like we get to see at each of those stages how this development happens, and I think that'll be the true sign of just how much we can trust the current infrastructure to produce cool results for us.
Right. For sure.
So yeah, potentially super exciting. I will say, I was thinking like 100 Next actually did play Maryville, University of Maryville, who is one of the top college teams. In fact, I think they maybe not last year, but maybe the year before that, won the college title and like beat them real bad. So, so you know what I mean? Like this, I think that this will prove to be more of an actual thing than perhaps some people are anticipating. And I hope so. Honestly, I hope so.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. So like I said, I was going to talk about what this means for our current roster. I think most of us are in agreement that if we were to make a roster change in any obvious way for the main LCS roster, it would probably be at the support position, pending the availability of anybody that makes sense in that role, which, because the talent pool is small, we haven't really found somebody for that slot. But definitely, in my opinion, doing a 6-man roster, 2 supports rotating in and out, this is trending towards how can we address our support issue, right? So I think that this whole thing is going to have to light a big fire under Stunt. So this guy was already kind of under the magnifying glass for a while with this team. And in playoffs, I honestly think he had better showings than he did during the regular season for the most part. I thought like Stunt was playing better. Now, if he has this, additional fire lit under him where it's like, oh, now there's not just my academy guy underneath me. There's 2 academy guys competing for the right to compete for my job, right? Basically. So I think we're going to learn a lot about Stunt's mental from that, right? We are a team that ourselves have had issues with people feeling the heat of players coming up behind them, right? I mean, remember the original media situation. He commented on how weird it felt for him to be helping his potential replacement, right, in the jungle.
Right.
And that set off a whole firestorm of events, really. This is going to be interesting. I don't know how they're going to manage this. And I hope that his mental is strong enough that he won't just completely implode.
Yeah. I mean, that's an important point to make, Cole. we did talk about that if there's one position in the lineup going into summer and looking beyond that, where I think an upgrade is possible, probably it's at the support position. That doesn't mean that you want to have that happen abruptly, right?
Yeah.
You don't want that to happen week 3 when somebody says, you know what, I'm not interested. You can go with your backup option. Good luck to you. That's not going to help your team win. It's going to do some of the stuff we've talked about. It's going to put people in positions probably before they're ready to be there. And I think very importantly, it doesn't give you time to make the strategic decisions you'd like to be making. So you do have to manage that. And just because we have thought that, I mean, especially like there have been games where it's like we do need to try something different. That doesn't mean you just try whatever you can,
sure.
Right? So I think that's so important, and it's going to be really challenging.
Yeah, it will be. So like I said, I really think that even though on paper this might not be the biggest move, it's going to test a lot of aspects of the League of Legends program that 100 Thieves has built. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that'll be a good thing. And we'll see how patient they are with this. I mean, it could very well be that Poome gets in there, doesn't look significantly better or different than Breezy. Mm-hmm. And maybe they don't look up to Stunt's level. And so this ends up being kind of a non-factor.
Yeah.
But there definitely is a direction forward. There's that universe where all those events conspire. So potential ramifications down the line for sure. Any final comments on the Poome 100X thing for you?
The only other thing I'll say is trust the Papa. We're going to talk more about this, but the whole thing is based on the idea that playing the long game is not a bad idea.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of teams we've seen some teams take that to the extreme where they just bow out, right? They're like, all right, we're selling it. We're out of this. If you really think about League of Legends esports as kind of a long-term thing, you need to have a farm system. You need to have talent that in 3 years could be world caliber. Because if you don't have that talent on your roster, somebody else is going to grab them. And it might even be somebody in the LEC, Cole. So if we have people who can play at that level here, we need to find a way to lock them in and start to develop them. So maybe Poome doesn't work out, but it's encouraging to see us with the mechanisms in place to actually create a pipeline through. You never know if somebody's going to be the next superstar if you don't try them in academy, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the next step. You got to try them in academy and see what happens. And it's not always going to work, but sometimes it will. And that's when you have an actual advantage in your region and potentially on the world stage too.
Yeah.
So I think this is a positive all around.
By the way, guys, if you're interested in this conversation about coaching and development and the talent pipeline and everything, I actually really would recommend the last Hotline League when LS came on and he talked a lot about this with Mark. I will say that in general, I think I've voiced my thing about LS that I don't like the condescension that comes out of him a lot of times, but I felt he was spot on with a lot of the stuff he was saying on this topic. So if you guys haven't listened to that episode from this past week, I would encourage you to do so if that topic is interesting to you. So speaking of moves, roster moves, one that also happened that we'll quickly talk about is Ssumday's extension. Now, a big question mark for us when we concluded the last split, and even going into the last split, we were saying Ssumday is a really good player on a team that has not found its footing. So how can we do enough to keep him, right? And will they go for it and end up keeping him? Well, we know the answer to that now, as he has a contract extension through 2022 for 100 Thieves now. So not only that, but I thought this was really interesting is in the video they released around this, he actually said he would like to be the face of 100 Thieves, which that's a big deal. Like the franchise player is a big deal. Jordan, how do you feel about the prospect of having Kindboy as a 100 Thieves mainstay.
I mean, fantastic. I feel fantastic about that. From a gameplay perspective, I don't think that you couldn't ask for a better like representative for your team, right? He absolutely terrorizes the LCS. I thought, Cole, at one point during last split, we talked about what would have to happen. We were basically speaking in hyperbole, right? Because it seemed that unlikely to me.
Yeah.
So the fact that they have him, and I think that one line, right? I would like to be the face of 100 Thieves. I think that says it all. It's a program he believes in. It's a group that he likes working with and playing with. Like, you don't just stay if you're. This has not been all rainbows and sunshine, right? He went to academy. He had some rough splits.
Just to underscore that, Ssumday played in academy for a while.
For a while. He was part of a 6-man roster in academy. This is our second run back of the 6-man. So for me, it tells me the heart of this program is strong. Like, you do not maintain control of a player of his caliber. He was the second all-team LCS top lane. I guarantee you there are teams who would love to have him in this region and others. And we don't have to get into the argument of could he play in the LCK? Could he play wherever he wants? He's good enough to get other offers. And as a player, that's all you need to know. And I'm sure he's had other offers, right? Yeah. If he had whoever he's represented by is getting those offers and forwarding the emails along, and he's seeing big numbers. So the fact that he decided to sign with us is it's pretty outstanding.
Yeah. Cosmic Flash saying, can Ssumday be our Ken Griffey Jr., please? I don't know how far you want to carry that analogy, because I don't know how much of the Seattle Mariners history you know, but while it was fantastic for them to have Ken Griffey, it didn't always go so well for the team.
Did they ever win?
No. Anyway. No, they did not. So we certainly want a title, and we want Ssumday to guide us there.
Yeah. Our title chances are higher with him on this team.
Yeah. But this is this is big news for us, and I'm happy. I mean, if you need a reminder, just look at the Lane Kingdom video that Azael did that came out today with his matchup against Soaz from last split in top lane. It's a fun watch, man, and it underscores just how calculated he is about things. And it was awesome. And I think there's no player who's been more consistently in our highlights.
He's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
From no other perspective, in Rec League, we give the MEP, the most entertaining player award, every time. He is both the most entertaining player and the most valuable player. He truly is both of those for us.
Yeah.
He is always popping off with insane plays. I knew he was good, Cole. I knew he was really good, LCS first team level good. But watching that Lane Kingdom, I was a little bit taken aback, to be honest with you. Watching it in slow motion with a breakdown of exactly what was going on, it was kind of shocking. Side note, I would pay really good money to be able to watch League of Legends with whoever's brain went into making that video, because that was so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Understanding every minute interaction. If you have not watched that Lane Kingdom, please do.
Yeah, it's a good watch.
Yeah.
So we know that, I guess the literal takeaway from this is that Ssumday won't walk away from this team. All right. We've got him locked down for a while, and that's good news for us. That gives us, a constant presence in top lane that definitely we need. So all of this to say, we don't actually have any changes to the main roster for the start of the LCS season. Now, I was informed earlier in the day by Super Ninja Penguin that this is actually the first time in the program's history that we've had the same starting roster for 2 splits in a row, which is interesting. All of this points to more on the development front, how well are we developing this team? What progress are we making? We're gonna discuss that in a little bit, but first, let's just talk about how we think we're gonna do. All right. Mm-hmm. Jordan, do you want to lead off, or do you want me to lead off here? Well, I'll do this. I'm going to lead off with a playoff format reminder.
Yes,
because I think that's pertinent. Remember, the playoff rules have changed. The format has changed for 2020. So this is how summer split is going to end up going. So 8 teams are getting in the playoffs. There is a winner's bracket and a loser's bracket. The top 2 seeds, they get a first round bye in the winner's bracket. Okay, so they're through to round 2 on winners. 3 to 6 will play in the normal winners brackets. And then 7 and 8, they start in the losers bracket. All right, so they only get a single elimination for them. So 8 teams getting in. If you are one of the 2 teams that doesn't make playoffs, that is very sad.
That's
very
super
sad for you. But it's different like this time around. Like more teams are going to get in playoffs. All right. So
it's like there is no gauntlet, but welcome to the gauntlet.
Yeah, right. So it's like the bar for, we'll be good if this team makes it to playoffs doesn't really apply anymore for this split. Because if we don't, then we are obviously really rough.
Yeah.
So the question is, how are we going to do? Regular season, beyond? Jordan, do you want to look at the power rankings we were able to comb first?
Sure.
Let's pull that up. Okay, so a note on this before we do this. Everybody's being cowards this year, and they are saving their power rankings. I don't know if they're going to do them or if they're just saving them for right before the split happens. But not many power rankings are out yet. So that's the caveat to this, is that there's not a whole lot out there. But here is some of the stuff that we can find. So Oracle's Elixir has us in 7th. That's our friend Tim, who's been on the show a couple times and an all-around solid dude. League on Lock has us also in 7th place. Ada, our old friend on his podcast Worlds with Friends, has us in 7th as well. The only group not putting us in 7th place power rankings is Vegas. So the odds makers have us actually in 4th. And that's both that's both 4th favorite to win the title, and 4th favorite to win the regular season. All right. So there's a discrepancy here, Jordan.
There is slight.
Now, again, I'll say the word caveat again. Vegas in esports is a little different than Vegas in traditional sports, right? They are not as accurate and smart. And say what you want, even when Vegas gets it wrong in traditional sports, they know what the heck they're doing. You know why? Because when money is on the line, you're going to get the best out of people.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a discrepancy here. Jordan, what do you make anything of the discrepancy here, or do you think this is just a very limited data set and it's not going to, the trend of this won't match when, say, the Dives rankings come out or ESPN's rankings come out?
Here's what I make of that. I expect to see more of the 7s. I do. And I think it's because last split, everybody kind of had us around there. Maybe they'll make playoffs. Maybe they will miss playoffs. We'll have to see. And we kind of, we messed around and we almost finished like in the top 3. We were very close. And if not for that series against TSM, Cole, I think we would have had a really good shot at it. I think we ended a much stronger team than we started.
Yeah.
And this is nothing new, right? All you got to do is look at the first versus second round robin record there to establish that. So I do think that we finished strong, and if not for a couple of like really close games, now you could say that throughout the whole split, of course, but I think we're a better team. We trend towards being a better team than where we finished.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'd say the odds probably tip towards higher if you're Vegas.
Also, let me ask, do you think we overachieved or underachieved or what?
Well, that's an interesting one. And you mentioned
this achieved.
Is there something between over and underachieved?
Oh man, that's a 10 things I hate about you line. I know you can be overwhelmed and you can be underwhelmed. Can you ever be just whelmed? Shout out boomers who know that movie.
I just cited 10 things I hate about you without even realizing it. Maybe I'm embarrassed. I don't know. Should I be? Here's what I'll say. This is the first split we're doing the run back, Cole. We got the same squad. Not perfect squad. I wouldn't say that this is our final form. But I think there is something to be said for the trajectories of this, right? Yeah. If you're listening to the podcast, it's my hand pointing up. And so I would look at that and say, you might have looked at this squad last split at the start of last split and said, that's a 7th place squad. And I think that I tend to be closer to Vegas and saying, I think we have the capacity to finish above kind of that bottom third of the table. I do.
Now, I'll say I do think we overachieved last split. I think we were the benefactors of some chaos among the other teams. So our record wasn't outstanding. I don't mean to take away from anything the team did, because while I do think that we overperformed, we still outperformed expectations of us at the beginning of the split in like a reasonable way. Like, if that makes sense, it's like I think that we did better than I expected us to do, but I also think it's not a fluke that we did better than projections. Right. Does that make sense? So, so maybe I wouldn't have put us in the 3 or 4 category, maybe in the 5 or 6, but a lot of people had us like 8, so.
Yeah. I tend to think that we are more likely to finish towards the top half of the table than the bottom half, because that's about where we landed last year. And I think there are some teams that are notably weaker than they were going into the last split. So we are certainly not that, right? We are the same.
Yeah. So here's what I have in terms of my own power rankings. No one cares about my power rankings. And let me tell you guys, I'm going to look directly at the camera. You should not care about my power rankings. Don't. Go to someone smarter. But for what it's worth, I have us actually sitting in 5th for this split. In my opinion, I think C9 is the runaway favorite. Sure. I actually think that Team Liquid is going to be kind of overlooked through this. And I think
Cool. Do you have a graphic for this, or are you just...
No,
Okay.
No, yeah, sure. I wish I did. I wish I did. But I wasn't actually intending on running my full power rankings. But I'm just basically talking about who's above us. C9 I think is indisputable. I think Liquid is going to be underrated, and I think TSM is actually I think the jungle problems are being blown out of proportion. This is still a team with some very solid laners on it. And I think they're just going to have a bump, right? So I have C9, and then I don't know if TSM or TL in second, but one of them, the other obviously in 3rd place. Then I have EG. A lot of people have EG ranked higher. I think they also overachieved. Yep. Then I have us. I can see a world where FlyQuest and us would switch positions. But right now I have us in 5th and FlyQuest in 6th, and then Golden Guardians, Immortals, CLG, and Dignitas. So that's where I am with
I did not write out my power rankings, Cole, but I think there is movement I can see for all of those teams, minus C9 probably, but I think 5th, that's where I'd put us too. I look at Fly, Golden Guardians, IMT, CLG, Dig. I agree with you. I think we're just better than Golden Guardians. I do. Yeah. I don't think Damonte is a meaningful upgrade there, and might be in some ways a downgrade. I'm not convinced that he is going to add a significant power boost to that team. So Fly is the one I could see us potentially flopping with, but other than that, I feel pretty good about the rest of that lineup.
Yeah. Now, again, there's been a lot of roster chaos, so we don't really know what we're going to see for the most part, but I just feel like Liquid is going to have a bounce back split, and they're the problem with this is the league is overall kind of weak, right? It's very concentrated into C9. And I will say, for the record, I don't think C9 is going to be as good this split as they were last split. It's hard for teams to do that. It's hard for teams to stay in that form. So I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win, and I don't think it's going to be in question. But I don't think they're going to be quite as dominant as they were during spring.
Maybe they'll lose 4 games.
Don't discount what happened since March, right? Everybody's worlds have been thrown off. Everybody's in a weird mental space. I don't think we're going to see Prime League of Legends in summer 2020 split. I just don't. So there will be chaos, and there will be unpredictability, and that's just where I'm coming down on that. I think some of the more established stars of the league will be able to carry their teams forward, and we're going to see that in this split. That's where I come down on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, with power rank. By the way, did you say an exact where you have 100 Thieves on your power ranking?
I'll put him. I'm not to just be the go along with Cole guy, but I'm putting him at fifth.
I successfully convinced him, everyone. All right.
Yeah. Like high for us. Oh, I'm not gonna say high because I do. Here's what I could say. I could see TL struggling again. I could see TSM struggling as well, right? Like there have just been enough things. TSM with double lift, maybe it works great, maybe it doesn't. TL was supposed to be 1, they got 9th. You know, if this guy's mental is not in a good spot, that can really slow your team down to the tune of missing playoffs. So, like, there is a lot of variability in these teams. The one thing that these teams have that we just don't is unknown. We know what our team can do. We know what the limitations are. We know what the storylines are. We spent a lot of time talking about Ryoma and Stunt. You know, like it will be very interesting to see how this split starts off, because I think that will be indicative of a lot. And by the way, all these teams with all these new pieces, how much time have these players spent gelling and working together and hanging out? You know, I don't know. It's possible that it hasn't been as much for the reasons you mentioned as they would have otherwise. So yeah, TSM, TL, I could see them going down, and maybe that means that we creep up.
Well, ever the optimist is that Jordan. We love him, don't we, everybody? Someone's got to be the voice of optimism, because I'm too pessimistic so that I don't curse us. Look,
charitable take, TM.
But look, you're leading into what we need to talk about next, and that is how we're going to evaluate the progress of this team. Or another way of saying it, how are we going to calibrate our trust the pop-up meters for this split? To me, this is actually fairly complicated. Because of the format change, really. Like, you know, in the last split, we drew the line at making playoffs, right? We were like, if we make playoffs, then we know like things are moving in the right direction. That's a concrete improvement. We would, out of necessity, have to see development from the players to get there, and we did. We clearly did. So, this team is not without its issues, though. Mm-hmm. And now, in a scenario where there's 8 teams getting into playoffs, it becomes murkier to decide what is the clear-cut way to say we are definitely making progress. I mean, I think complicated even further by the fact that I said we overperformed last split, in my opinion, because did we artificially set a higher bar than is appropriate? Because if we're saying, well, we need to be as good as last split or better, I'm not sure I'm there yet. You know, because of how well we actually ended up doing. Yeah. This is so difficult. Jordan, give me some clarity. Give me some guidance.
Can I start this segment with a mini rant?
Yes. Rants are good. Rants are good for the views, bro. I'm going to put this in all caps.
Get your clips ready, everybody. It's going to get spicy. No, here's my question for you. And I'm going to phrase this rant in the form of a question for you, Cole.
Oh no.
When you have a rookie player joining a traditional sports team, how typical is it that the fan base expects that player to be LeBron James when he was a rookie?
He said in traditional sports?
Yeah.
That is very rare indeed.
Is very rare indeed.
That is LeBron, that is Zion Williamson, and that's about it.
So when LeBron came in his rookie year, did he win MVP?
What'd you say?
Did LeBron win MVP his rookie year?
LeBron did not win the MVP.
He didn't even win the MVP his rookie year, Cole. That is embarrassing. He should be ashamed. He's worthless. He's a garbage player. Here's my point, Cole. I do believe that us esports fans, we have our calibrations a little bit off. When we have these younger and newer players coming in, we expect for them to be as good as the best player in the league. And if they're not, we start wondering, who could we replace them with? And if every team, Cole, replaced every rookie who didn't win MVP, how many rookies would there be in the league?
Right.
Maximum.
Right.
1. So I know I'm being facetious. But this is a storyline for me going into this split. is Ryoma going to continue to improve? And is he going to is he going to continue his trend basically? Like let's think back a split. He was definitely on the upwards trajectory to the point that by the end of it, even those who were unconvinced that he was deserving of an import slot started to give him some credit. Not just from us and those of you who like to hang out with us in chat, but even the pundits, the analysts, the big voices in the community were starting to say, yo, this kid can play and he can hang with these guys. So one of the things that for me is progress is our program able to continue pushing him to the next level? Because we do want him to be, I think with your import slot, you should be picky.
Right. That's the thing.
If you're not getting value out of your import players, it's gonna be very hard for you or impossible to really challenge for the top 3. So I think we need to see him continue the trajectory towards that kind of upper echelon of mid laners, which is a very elite group of players. Like, make no mistake, mid lane talent in NA is strong.
Yeah. So, well, that brings up another tough part of this, right? Because, like, again, so obviously we're talking about Ryoma now, but if you're evaluating progress, you have to be like, oh, well, you know, if we think he's like the 4th best mid laner, that's good enough. It's like, well, it's actually kind of stacked at the top, you know, for mid laners.
Yeah.
So it's just not clear and cut and dry. And that's why I'm having such a hard time deciding what progress is for this team. I will say I'm coming down on kind of the same side you are, it sounds like, in that for me, it's going to be player focused progress. Yeah, I think
so.
Obviously, if the team lands 8 to 10, I'm going to say, well, that was probably a step in the wrong direction, right? And with the same roster that we had in the previous split, like that would to me signify a problem. But when it comes to advancing and developing, I think we're going to have to rely on what we see with the individual players. Mm-hmm. And is there any way to do that other than the eye test? I'm not sure. So you guys are probably going to hate me during the Trust the Papa checks that we do throughout the split, because it's going to be basically all eyeballs. I mean, we'll compare it to stats and everything, but to me, it's like, I want to see one, like Jordan's saying, I want to see Ryoma take more steps forward. Okay. Specifically with laning, I want to see him turn into a top half of the league laner, because his early game laning is not strong right now. With Stunt, I would say you need to demonstrate significant improvement almost immediately, because I already would put him on the block for, you know, needing to go. So that improvement will have to happen for me to feel like, whether that's a roster change or him just getting better, I'll have to see that.
I don't mean to make a full segment out of this, but when you say that on the block, would you think to put Breezy or Poome in to the LCS roster already, like quickly?
You don't want to do it too quick. So I'm not thinking like week 3 they go in, but I'm just saying, like, that is a job that I would be looking for.
Like, behind the scenes, if you're managing this team, you might say, hey, Poome, you're going to get some reps with you're going to do some scrims with the LCS guys this week. Like, we are going to start trying this out. Yeah. Kind of thing. Yeah. Where you're not doing that with Ssumday. Right. He's playing every scrim. Right. Yep.
So I definitely would have my eyeballs on that. And then I suppose like when it comes to top and jungle, I'm looking to see just synergy. You know, there were times where, like in the Lane Kingdom video from today, where the synergy between Meteos and Ssumday looked on, but there were a lot of times where that synergy did not look on. Yeah. Where ganks didn't seem well coordinated. Ssumday seemed on a different page than Meteos. I think we saw that more than a few times. So I guess when it comes to that, I'm looking for more improved, smooth communication between the two of them and plays that look more polished. More eye test crap, man. Let me tell you, chat, I absolutely hate that it's this way. I am not a person who likes to solely rely on eye tests for anything, especially when you're like making arguments. So people who disagree with me are going to hate me the entire split when we talk about this stuff. But I'm just saying, like, I don't see another way to do that.
I'll look at that note you just made, the synergy, and I think I'll put that mostly on Meteos, and only because, especially early in the split, we did see a number of those interactions where it just felt like they were on, one was on step 2 when one was on step 4, right? It was off. The timing was off. They're playing to a different beat. And I saw it in multiple lanes. So I tend to put that on the jungler. And I'm sure with the jungle mains out there will say that, but that's not fair.
You're talking in a general sense. It tends to be that way. Not.
I want to see Meteos really syncing up on the, like, we know he can do it. This isn't a question of whether he can or not. I just feel like there were stretches of the split where it felt like he would show up and it'd be like, well, let's see what happens, versus again, like the Lane Kingdom one where it was chef's kiss. It was beautiful. Yeah. So I want to see more of that. And that's kind of a general thing of like, I definitely want to see Meteos. I want to see that consistency. I just think that's so important from the jungle position to have that consistency for the rest of the team.
Interestingly enough, I'm not like keying in on anything with Cody's son. I think the trend for us last split was the dude is fine. He doesn't have, Vulcan with him anymore. So he's probably not unleashed the same level he could be, but he didn't seem to be making egregious mistakes on a consistent basis. Yeah. And I kind of feel the same way with him. Like I want to see the support situation improve before I'm coming down too harshly on him. Let me ask you this, Jordan. Do you think, so say we get halfway through this split and we're sitting right in the like lower middle tier of the pack. So say we're in like 6th or 7th or something like that. Mm-hmm. Would you prefer to try to win or would you prefer to try and develop? Remember, teams that get in playoffs, the top 3 finishes from there are going to Worlds.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Here's what I'm thinking about. This is not a win now roster. We did not make big moves in the offseason to put all of our chips on the table. We kind of did the opposite. We locked in our key pieces for even longer, buying us more time, right? That being said, a long contract in the LCS is not the same as a long contract in baseball, right? They're just not the same. Yeah. So 2022 will be here before we know it. And so I think it cop-out answer. It depends. I will give you the details that hopefully make it less of a cop-out. If we're seeing signs of positive, like, okay, if we get this one thing figured out, we're going to be there. If we get, if we can just find the way to get Stunt in a better spot and we think we know what it is, then I think you maintain. If, however, it's just like, because I kind of felt like this is the point we reached last split. Week after week after week, it was a little bit, we saw the same champ a lot. Yeah. And so it felt like we were stagnant in some ways, right? Like, I don't know what the other look is that we are thinking about that's going to really take this player in this position to the next level. And I think if we find ourselves there where it feels like we're just treading water, then I'd say play to develop, right? Because for me, what that says is you have identified and you are approaching the ceiling. And when that's the case, you know what to expect, right? And if what you can expect is 7th or 8th, then it's worth sacrificing a little bit to try to play for more next year. The Worlds piece throws a wrench in that.
Yeah.
Because if you think you can throw a Hail Mary, right? Like maybe if the chips fall our way, we can make 3rd. Like TSM is floundering, TL is sort of a mess, and it's EG, and we got to beat them. Like those odds aren't horrible. So it is complicated, unfortunately.
Yeah. That's right. We are the king of the non-answers. That's what we're known for. Look, there's a lot to unpack, but I'm actually going to move us on just to keep us moving on the pod because we could talk about that for a while.
Mhm.
Safe to say we'll need to more carefully scrutinize and evaluate this as the season goes on. But as always, I urge patience as we do this. And remember, I think you were very smart to point out that this is, we didn't swing for the fences with these roster moves for the start of 2020, and to keep that in mind. All right. So this week we're playing League of Legends, Jordan. Not only so Academy is going to play against C9 on Thursday. So if you want to watch, probably Breezy, and actually I don't think it's going to be Poome yet, but if you want to watch Academy, it's Thursday. I think it's 5 Central, somewhere around there. But we play the very first game of the LCS slate against Evil Geniuses on Friday. So Monday Night League is no more, and there's now Friday Night League.
7 p.m., I believe, Central Time.
And that will be us playing against EG. And maybe we'll try and do something for that. Oh, no. That's Cole won't, because that's his wife's birthday. Never mind.
There's something going on. On.
So, yes, that won't happen for me. But anyway, we're playing EG. EG projected by the same power rankings that I brought up earlier, which again is just a very small sampling that is not representative of the scene as a whole, but from what people tend to think that they are a top 3 team, maybe top 4 in some cases. So, Jordan, your prediction, 100 Thieves versus Evil Geniuses. What do you think? They finished the regular season in 2nd place. They finished playoffs in 3rd place. Will we take down the Evil Boys?
I actually like that name for them a lot better. The Evil Boys.
The Evil Boys.
Man, this is actually a really compelling matchup. I think we are very closely matched with them. I'm trying to remember back exactly to how it went, but again, Cole, it feels like 2.5 lifetimes ago. Were these some of the games where Ssumday was not as reliable as he historically has been for us, or were those different?
I think when we played EG in playoffs, it was a combination. Or no, wait, we lost to FlyQuest, was it, right? Why am I? This is all running together for me. This is making me look really stupid. Oh, well, we had the TSM. Yeah, we had the TSM series.
For
the tiebreakers, we beat FlyQuest and lost to EG. That's what I'm talking about. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, but it was close. I feel like it was close. I don't think it was a stomp or EG game. Yeah.
That's how I remember it as well. That's how I'm choosing to remember it.
Yeah.
Whether or not that is. So anyway, I'll say I think EG has really gelled. I think they're a team that has come together pretty well. I think Bangs looked good for them. I think he's looked better for them than he had for us for
100%.
The majority of the time.
Big sad.
With us. Big sad. So yeah, I think it's going to be largely decided by the strength of, I would say, Stunt. Great opportunity, Cole. Let's not forget that Ryoma v Jizuke was a spicy one the last time, and he got the better of it, if I'm not mistaken, in a big way. At least
in some of those exchanges, yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the games he absolutely popped off. I think that was against EG, because I remember him thinking like, okay, so he's left the mark on Jizuke here. So I am going to, here's my prediction. I think Ryoma plays well, and I think that is important to us. Stunt, I think, maintains his playoff form in some way and just contributes positively. Maybe he's not winning us the game, but makes some good plays, and I think we get the dub.
Jordan's predicting the dub. That makes it very difficult for me to predict the L, because you know how pessimistic I always am with these things. But here's the deal. I think it's going to take some time for all teams to get back to normal.
Yep.
But I think that we may be particularly hard hit by that, especially with Ryoma being a younger guy and Jizuke having obviously more experience under his belt. I think that'll be a big deal. I agree with you that they are gelling pretty well, and I think that will likely continue. I think I saw. I don't want to say this out loud, but I guess I will anyway since I started it. But I think I saw that EG was doing some like in-houses and stuff, and I just have the feeling that we won't look as strong for a while. So I'm gonna predict the loss to EG, and I'm also gonna predict the loss to C9 because they are the champions. And
I also
they
will
look
predict a loss to
they
C9,
look
Cole,
nigh untouchable by any NA team.
just to prove that I am not delusional.
Yeah.
I'm going to predict the L on that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think we're gonna go into, you were thinking we're splitting at 1-1. We will see which one of us is right and which one of us has to chug down some ribbit or whatever we decide.
It's a pretty stiff penalty. I will happily accept it. Comes to that.
Let me hit a couple of quick listener things really quick, and then if we have time, we have one more topic that we perhaps will hit. CL Primus asks, Jordan, what do you think is more likely? 100T making top 4 or C9 losing more than 4 games, including playoffs?
Including playoffs. That's all series. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it's more likely that they lose 4 games, including playoffs. If you go best of 5 format, I think I appreciate it. You're giving me a little flex in this answer. If you just do 4 regular season, I think that's actually a pretty hard one. But I think that in a best of 5, especially if you get some of these toward the end of the split, like if they have the 1 seed squarely locked in, I think at that point, if you're C9, you start honestly putting some of your academy players in, just get them the reps. Like, at that point, your roster's not changed. These guys aren't needing to learn how to play together. They're set. So more likely 100T making top 4.
I think that's true too. I'm going to go with that because, if you're talking about regular season, in fact, we did make top 4 in the last split. And yeah, 4 games, including playoffs. I mean, I don't think they're going to run undefeated through the playoffs. And I think, there will be a regular season misstep or 2. There almost always is. So say they lose 2 regular season games and then they just drop 2 during several best of 5s, that seems more likely to me. So,
one other thing I'll say on that is real quick is it does feel a little bit like the skill gap continues to grow in the LCS in what I would describe as a bit of a concerning way. Like, there have been some things happening in teams at the bottom of the table that just don't make them look stronger.
No, that's true.
Hooney leaving your team after you paid him $1 jillion is not great for you. So come on, Dig. Keep it together, buddy. Don't crash out.
Yeah. I'll say, so this one came in on Twitter from Cass Ryder, says, my take is that our best shot at making to Worlds is to embrace an aggressive playstyle and give, more often than not, Ryoma aggressive lane dominant champions instead of the control mages. So, Jordan, your reaction to that take from Cass? Who says that's our best chance at making Worlds?
Yeah. I like the idea of this question, right? Which is like, if you want to make Worlds with this roster, what are you going to do? And as we've learned, Cole, the roster you start a split with is basically the roster you're going to need to make Worlds with if you want to make it to Worlds. A roster change mid-split basically means you should just chalk it, right? Yeah. You're basically not going to make it to Worlds. So that's something. We had Ryoma on for an interview, and we talked a little bit about just the champions he loves to play, what he wants, what's his personal kind of preference. He likes to play these kinds of champions, right? And his highlight reel shows that too. So when it comes to the specific terms of this question, our best shot at making Worlds, I think it depends entirely on whether or not those are the champions that he actually can take over a game on, or if he just turns into an int machine, to be honest with you. Like, to put it in blunt terms, that's what those champions do. You either take over the game or you do nothing. And you have to be so good at those champs to play them at the highest level. I honestly don't know if he's there yet. So that's probably where the hesitation comes. If it was as easy as just putting him on those champs and letting him take over the game every time, yeah, do it, right? And make other teams ban him. Fantastic. But I think the thing about control mages is they offer you a little bit more room to unlock other players, other lanes, right? So if Ssumday is cruising in top lane and he's got turret down by 16 minutes and you have Orianna, you can just feed the Aatrox, right? And get it going. Now, if you're Yasuo and you're 3 kills, 3 deaths and 30 CS down, nothing's going to happen. You're doing nothing. So
yeah, and I will say that they specified more often than not. So not every time making him roll the dice like that, but when it comes to making worlds, I think that's probably true because we would need some sort of shift in how we play to be able to do that, because how we play up to this point hasn't really gotten us into the position we need to be in, and so obviously that would depend on his ability to actually react that way and to do well. But when it comes to this is what happens to make worlds, I'd probably say that's pretty accurate.
The asterisk on this one for me is we have seen him take over games with control mages. He can do that, right? There have been games where he's gotten triples and quadras and he's ended 13-0-4. That's not an exact stat line, but something like that. So if he continues to improve, even at just playing those champs, like there are games that we will win that we wouldn't have otherwise won. And so the question specific to this, the answer specific to this will be, does the trajectory continue on those champs too? Because I think if not, then yeah, if you want to make worlds with this lineup, you gotta swing for the fences, meaning try them on some champs you can take over a game with.
Yeah. All right. So we've got one final topic we want to address. We'll try and do this quickly, and I have to say I don't know how exactly I want to express my thinking on this. But I think, Jordan, you're with me. So maybe we can kind of hash it out together. And I want to say this in a way that doesn't give the wrong impression about how I'm thinking about it. But here's the deal. And so we are closing the conversation with LCS for the large portion of this. And we're talking about 100 Thieves in general. I think that all esports orgs have kind of been victims of circumstance in the past few months, right? With everything that's going on. I think that the pandemic probably put many projects on hold for all orgs. 100 Thieves, no exception. Now we've seen 100 Thieves do a couple of things. We saw them do the, did we decide it was the first Valorant tournament?
I don't know if it was the first. It was certainly the most viewed.
The first significant Valorant tournament. Was hosted by them. We've seen some Warzone stuff. We saw the announcement today that they're going to do a Warzone series and giving away $100,000 to various orgs that are supporting the racial justice causes and with everything that's going on right now. At the same time, not having everybody at the Cash App compound because of quarantine restrictions. Obviously, there's been no apparel since the Numbers collection, which has actually been quite some time now, right? And it not only that, but it feels like there's very little even on that front. And then I think more is, I think even John may have said it in chat that maybe more like there's LCS content coming this week, but there hasn't been much LCS content. The CSGO team didn't end up doing very well. I had a coaching change. I'm saying all this because I'm starting to have some concerns about the hype level around the org. Like, I feel like we're dropping a little bit in prominence and in eyeballs. And I'm like, as a huge fan, I'm concerned about that, and I want to fight against that. I don't know how. And because of the way everything is happening right now, I'm not sure what seriously concrete suggestions I would have for, like, how can we remain relevant, stay at the top of the list and everything, but we're clearly falling, right?
Yeah. Jordan,
do you have any reactions to this? Do you agree with me? Do you think it's overblown?
No, I agree with you. I'm gonna put myself on the spot here. I'm gonna go back to what John was talking about when we had him on the pillars.
Yeah.
Right. I think that one of the things that's contributed to the meteoric rise of 100 Thieves has been our towering strength as kind of a cultural engine, right? In this environment, the opportunities to impact the conversation just are not as great. They're not as many, and they're not as varied, right? It's a lot. There's a lot going on in the Twitter sphere, Cole, and you can really only do so much.
Well, I will say that they were among the first orgs to start making statements about what was going on.
I'm
will put that
I'm just
out there.
saying, like, what 100 Thieves does so well is apparel, and I'm not trying to diminish what the organization does and kind of, reduce it into kind of an oversimplified set of things. But the apparel it actually does so much for the organization. I think we see that now, right? In the absence of apparel, when the apparel comes out, everybody is wearing it. Everybody is tweeting about it. You've got Ninja putting, like, it amplifies the reach and the voice of what the team is, what the organization is, who the team, like kind of what the character is, what we stand for, all this kind of stuff. And without it, that is not there, right? It's not one of the things creating conversation. And I think the same is true for the kind of these, like, one of the things that has really come out as this huge driver in the conversation is really these, like, I'll call them crossover events, right? When you get some of the biggest names in the room into a room together, right, into one physical space, you just literally cannot do that right now. People aren't getting on planes and they're not going to the same building. So hard to do that. And we saw so much of that happening just in the last 6 months, right?
Okay.
Or kind of plus now. But those kinds of things, when you take those out of the equation, the pillar you have left basically is esports and competition. That's even quieted down in some places, like things are still happening, but not to the same extent. And like, think about when the COD team was doing so well, that was generating an immense amount of conversation and attention. So without a team that is dominant right now, without players who are, generating their own buzz and following, Valorant will be very interesting to see if that competitive scene gets started and we are in the top, kind of the upper echelon of teams competing. I think that can do a lot to generate buzz. But you don't get to be a well-rounded organization with just one thing.
Yeah.
And right now I'd say we don't have any one thing that we could even say, like, yeah, it's a 3-legged stool, but this leg is 20 feet tall and the others are kind of hanging out,
Yeah.
Like, they're all kind of hobbled right now. So I agree with you completely. I think it's an interesting moment, and I don't know that there's a lot you can really even do about it, because I think what a lot of these teams are getting by on is their credentials and their legacy, right? And it's the fact that they have the history to stand on that we just don't have. We're too young for that. And our most successful team isn't competing right now, right? The COD team is disbanded and we're not in the CDL. So all of that, I think, comes together to contribute to what you're talking about.
Very well said. So it might be just the holding pattern that's gotten to me, over this time, because I mean, on the Valorant side, signing Hiko, I think, is a huge, huge deal. Like, that's a top player in the world for the Valorant team. But part of me still feels bad seeing T1 have a full team that's demolishing, then the CSGO team, it was like, it's been super roller coaster ride with them, right? Like, immediately after Kassad left, it was like, oh wow, we're actually insanely good now, and then that fell off a cliff too. So I don't know what's happening. And then maybe it really is just the void left by apparel, I think, is things are that's being felt keenly by me. But I guess the only thing that I would add to this is that, like, I think the reason I wanted to talk about it here is because I want us as fans to do what we can to be excited about 100 Thieves and, like, spread that excitement. It's like, I feel like I feel like as fans, we all can play like a part in this. It's just making the vibes good around the team and making the energy high around the org and showing up for streams and showing up in the comments and doing what we can there. I have high hopes for the LCS season because like this will be the completion of the 3rd year that we've been in LCS. And like, so to me, it's like we leave that new team stage at the end of this year.
Right.
And so who we are like within the culture is kind of established at that point. So I feel like if we are big and active and we do reasonably well during this split, then like, you know, that leaves us in a place of higher regard and higher respect. And I hope that's the case. And so I hope we can all just do our part to spread good vibes for the org. And, you know, I think that they will respond in kind. You know what I mean? I think there will be a return to more prominent stuff. The lull is just killing me right now, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like all other things, right? There is a kind of a state of quiet right now.
Yeah.
The question will be, what does the return look like? I think it's going to be splashy, honestly. And I'm an optimistic dude. It's established, but I think that is now in the DNA of this organization. This is not an organization that does things quietly. And that's why I think it's been a challenge for us to kind of, you know, just subsist in this weird lull, right? This is not what we're made for. We're not a meme team. Like we don't just,
right.
You know, it's not about what jokes we can put on Twitter this day, right? That's not who we are. And I'm glad we've not tried to do that or be that because we don't like, I will speak for you. I don't really like that. That's not what I'm showing up for, right? I want a team that wins. I want a team that kind of has a prestige about them. And I think we have that. It'll come back. It'll come back once things start getting back to the way they were. And I'll be the you know, millionth person to say, who knows what things will look like. But, you know, eventually we will all start to go outside again. And when that happens, I think we can expect to see big things.
Yeah. Well, let's certainly show up as fans, as Thunder T fans. Let's show up, you know, let's be vocal, let's have fun, and let's support the team we love. And let's rendezvous back here at this same Twitch channel next week to talk about our 2-0 opening weekend, how we took down the Goliath that is C9. I can't wait to have that conversation with you, Jordan. And
I can't believe it.
I can't wait for the bodied fan cast guys to have to answer that. You know, I just can't wait.
Dubs only, Cole. Every game's a dub.
All right, so we'll wrap it up there, guys. Rec League this week is on, so we'll see you there on Thursday, and then we'll do some game watching this weekend. I can't believe we're already back. So
wild. Yeah, I'm excited.
So yeah, just to clear up confusion, we will be here for Rec League, but I'm just saying 100 Talk. Well, let's come back Monday for 100 Talk.
If you're listening to the podcast and you're hungry for a little bit more action before like the appetizer for LCS, pop on by on Thursday. We're going to get some super high quality and good time League of Legends with the community. And show up in our Discord if you want to hang out and talk all day. We talk about chili. We talk about pottery. We have a daily pottery tournament. What other Discord are you in that has that? It's great. Pottery fans Discord. Yeah. Maybe they don't even have it. They probably don't even have a daily tournament. So look, it's good vibes in the Discord. Link to that is below the video description and in the podcast description and in Twitch chat right now. Guys, we love you. And we miss you already. We'll see you again.